Hey guys, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to check out the Nux Trident. This is another one of those affordable multi-effect / amp modeler / audio interface units that I wanted to check out. Nux sent this over to me for this video, so thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate it. I recently also did a video on the Boss ME90, which is kind of a similar unit. So this will be interesting to kind of see how they compare. But yeah, I like these kind of devices. Affordable, they do a lot, and it's basically great to have these things, especially for beginning guitar players who want something that does a lot for not a lot of money. Just as with the ME90, the Trident has a quite tactile interface, so it has a lot of controls that you can use to tweak the effects with physical knobs. However, you can dive much deeper when you connect this to your computer and use the app. In the app, you can choose many effects and dial them into taste, as well as edit the signal chain and load IRs, etc. Now, the Trident has a bunch of built-in amplifiers to choose from, and also built-in cabinets. And as I said, you can load your own IRs, which is my personal preferred method. And as I touched on, you can use the Trident as your audio interface, which is great. You can use this for reamping, recording your dry tracks, and stuff like that. Keep in mind that this is fixed at 48 kilohertz. One thing that sets this unit apart from the ME90 is the fact that this unit has XLR outs. But this unit does not have a built-in expression pedal, while the ME90 does. Now, there are a bunch of videos on YouTube that explain this unit in depth, and of course you can also check out the manual for all the details. But in this video, I just want to try some tones, and I'm going to focus on 3 different tones. The first tone that we're going to try is a sort of broken up, chimey, clean tone, or a sort of light crunch tone. And I want to try that with a bunch of effects, so a really sort of wet and dreamy like tone. I also want to try a classic rock crunch, and of course a high gain metal tone. So those 3 tones is what this video is going to be mainly about. And we're going to start with that chimey, broken up, clean tone. For that clip, I'm going to use my Gibson Les Paul Custom on the bridge pickup. Let's just take a listen first. Check it out. Alright, that was pretty nice. I used the Class A30 amplifier for that chimey Vox tone, and I thought this amp model was great for this. In the cab block, I'm using an OwnHammer Rockbox IR of the G65 2010A speaker to be precise. At the beginning of the chain, I have the noise gate on, then the CE1 chorus, which sounds very nice and lush, and after the amp, I'm running the tape echo, and finally the plate reverb. I think that this preset turned out great, and I'm especially impressed by the effects. The quality just seems very pristine, which is nice. Now let's go ahead and check out the classic rock tone, and for that I'm going to use my Gibson Les Paul Standard, but in the bridge it has the JB pickup by Seymour Duncan. Let's check it out. Alright, that was another cool tone. Let's check out the preset and the modules that I used. So the amp that I used is the 1987 X50 amp, which is based on a Marshall Plexi style amplifier. And the inputs are jumpered, and one of the cool things about this unit is that with the amp models you can really change the input. So if an amplifier has multiple inputs, you can choose between them, and in the case of the 4-hole inputs you can jumper them and all that stuff. So that's really nice. For the cabinet this time I'm running the OwnHammer Rockbox M25L 2003A, a greenback speaker which fits this tone very well. The noise gate is on again, and I added a boost to give the tone a bit more power and focus. I'm also using the equalizer pedal effect to add a touch of low end and removing a little bit of fizz, and finally a room reverb. I thought the tone was pretty good, but what I started to notice when I added more gain is that the tones start to get a little bit more mushy and compressed. So let's see how that goes with a metal tone, and for that purpose I'm going to use my ESP LTD Phoenix Evertune in silver sunset burst with the Fishman Fluence modern pickups in it on the bridge pickup. Check it out. Alright, not bad, it sounded pretty cool, but to be honest it took me a bit more effort to create this tone, and I'm not 100% pleased with it. But let's take a look at the preset. So I'm using the rectifier amplifier here with another OwnHammer Rockbox IR, this time using the V30EN 1999A speaker. The noise gate is on again, and I added a boost for more push and a bit more focus on the tone. In the EQ I scooped out a little bit of mids, and I added some very subtle room reverb as well. And that's it, that's the entire preset. So what is my opinion on the Trident? Well, it's a very fun unit to use with an attractive price. It's cool that you can use this as your audio interface, and it's also very nice that you have a bunch of controls over here that you can physically use to adjust a bunch of parameters. I think a lot of the effects are really good, like the modulation, the delay, the reverb, and also some of the boosts. And I got some great results with the low gain and crunch or vintage style amplifiers. However, with the high gain amplifiers, I couldn't help but notice that the response and the overall frequency response was a bit off. In terms of frequency response, the amps were lacking a little bit of low end oomph, and the mids seemed to be a little bit too flat, as if the impedance curves weren't really correct. And the overall feel and response of the distortion was a bit too mushy and loose for my taste. You can adjust things like the bias, which is a cool function, but it doesn't really help much. So if you want to tighten up those amps, you are going to need to put some EQ or a boost pedal up front, which is not what I always do with my real amplifiers or other modeling platforms. If you're a high gain player like me, I'm sure eventually you will be able to get some good tones out of this, but it will require more effort. You know, add pedals, change the EQ after the amplifier and stuff like that. I appreciate the app and the interface looks nice, but I found some things a little bit clunky. Loading IRs and changing them around doesn't always work properly, or so it seems. And each time I switch to a different IR, the low and high cuts default to their default positions, which are basically too extreme for my taste. So cutting off too much low end and too much top end as well by default. So I don't think that this device is perfect yet, but they might improve it with future firmware updates. And I'm excited to see where it will go in the future. Working on the physical interface of the pedal was fun, but it's also not as straightforward as I'd hoped. So there is a little bit of a learning curve. So if you buy one of these, definitely reference the manual. Overall, it's a fun device with cool effects, nice functionality, and a cool interface. For high gain tones, so for metal players, you can get some good tones, but it's definitely not ideal. If you don't use high gain tones much, I think you'll get much better results. And if you're going to use this just as your effects unit, I think you're going to get some great effects out of this. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again to Nux for sending this over to me. Please drop a like and subscribe down below, as that really helps the channel out. And also let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this device and the tones I got. And of course, you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers!